so many emotions reading this book.
Diaries. We got Michael Myers from the Halloween movie.
Maybe I'm not the intended audience for this book. The first book I read for the month of October was The Good Part by Sophie Cousin. This is my first book by this author that I've read, and I don't think it will be my last because I really enjoyed this one. I just felt so many emotions reading this book. This book was really heartwarming and touching. The description goes, Lucy Young is 26 years old and tired of fetching coffees for senior TV producers, sick of going on disastrous dates, and done with living in a damp flat with roommates who never buy toilet paper. After another disappointing date, Lucy stumbles upon a wishing machine. Pushing a coin into the slot, Lucy closes her eyes and wishes with all her might, please let me skip to the good part of my life. When she wakes up the next morning to a handsome man, a ring on her finger, a high-powered job, and 2 storybook perfect children, Lucy can't believe this is real, especially when she looks in the mirror and staring back is her own 40-something face. Has she really skipped ahead like she's always wanted, or has she simply forgotten a huge chunk of her life? As Lucy begins to embrace new relationships and the perks of maturity, she'll have to ask herself, can she go back to her previous life? And if so, can she stand to leave the good part behind? This is definitely my favorite book that I read. I just picked this up because I was at Winners one day and I was scrolling through the little book section. I was at Home Sense, not Winners. And I saw that this was $8. And then I Googled how much it cost at like Indigo or something, and it said like $25, I think. So what a steal this was. It was just a heartwarming and emotional read, but there was also some really good humorous parts in here, and it was just so touching. I love when books like make you reflect on your real life. This book like made me think about like what's important in life, and there were just so many great reminders in here, and I think it was really needed right now. You can't have the good without the bad. And I think that's what makes life a journey, I guess. The plot was based on time travel, and I think it worked really well. It really created like a little good bit of mystery in the book because I just wanted to keep reading to find out what decision will Lucy make next. How will it impact her current life? The romance was also really good in this book. I loved the family, and oh my goodness, I loved this book so much. This was a delightful blend of, I think, women's fiction and fantasy, and just really, the romance was so enchanting. It was really great. What a heartwarming, beautiful rom-com. I am undoubtedly giving this a 5 out of 5 stars. The second book that I read was a nonfiction book called Girls That Invest by Simran Kaur. One of my main goals for 2025 was to become more financially literate. Honestly, that's been my goal for like the last couple of years, and I never really took the action. I hate that no one teaches you this in school. You have to literally learn it all yourself, but thankfully there are resources out there, and thankfully the library exists. As I was scrolling through the Libby app, trying to decide which financial book to pick, this one really drew me because of the cover and the title. Just look how friendly and feminine it looks. The stock market and anything financial and anything about investments is really intimidating, especially if you're a beginner. There's all this jargon out there and it just sounds so complicated, but I think what's really important is taking that first step to try and understand the financial market and essentially hoping to reach financial independence. This book was really short. I would consider this book as a really great beginner step-by-step guide about the stock market, financial independence, the essential principles of financial literacy. At the beginning of the book, she shares a little bit about her mindset with money, and people around you, the adults in your life, have really shaped your money mindset. And I just found that the things that she said were really relatable to me. I think it was a really great investment and training book, and for anyone who wants to dip their toes into financial literacy. The information here I found really to be quick and digestible. She really does a great job at describing the different terms and the different principles of investment. And she also really explained investment jargon really well. And there were some topics that I do wish she could have provided more details in this book. But overall, I really like this book. I definitely see myself picking it up again if I ever need a refresher. So yeah, I would give this book a 4 out of 5 stars. The third book that I read this month was How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. I listened to the audiobook for this one. Another big goal of mine was to learn how to communicate better. This is one of those books that I have seen for years, and I've always heard such great things about it and how it's an essential and a really helpful book for someone. Essentially, it's principles that Dale Carnegie has endured to help someone achieve their maximum potential in the complex and competitive modern age, and it teaches you 6 ways to make people like you, and 12 ways to win people to your way of thinking, and the 9 ways to change people without arousing resentment. This book had some helpful advice that I think could be really valuable to some, but I'm going to be honest, I really couldn't get into this one. I found it kind of boring and repetitive. I really did not enjoy it. I think there was just some false sincerity and fake positivity that was in this book, and it just wasn't clicking for me. I mean, maybe I'm not the intended audience for this book. I'm going to rate this one a 2 out of 5 stars. The fourth book that I read for the month of October was Ever After Always by Chloe Lisa. I've seen this book series all over Bookstagram and Book Talk for years. When I saw this was available on Libby, I decided I needed to borrow it. It's a second chance romance between a married couple, and I think that second chance romance, I love that trope for married couples. I think it works really well. The book description goes, Freya Bergman has spent a dozen years loving Aiden and never thought they'd find their marriage on the rocks. He's her partner and best friend, the person she knows she can count on most. Until one day, Freya realizes the man she married is nowhere to be found. Now Aiden is quiet and withdrawn, and as the months wear on, the growing distance between them becomes too much to bear. Aiden would spend a dozen lifetimes making his wife happy, but the one thing that will make her happiest is the one thing he's not sure he can give, a baby. With the pressure of providing and planning for a family, his anxiety is at an all-time high. They're drifting apart, and he doesn't know how to change the tide. As if othering marriage counseling wasn't enough, Freya and Aiden are thrown together for a Bergman family island getaway. Will this trip help them work together through their troubles in paradise, or be the final wave that tows them under? This book reminded me a lot of the Romance Book Club series. This is my first book of hers, by the way, and I love the scenes with the Bergman brothers. I really like this book. I do think that the marriage counseling scenes were really quick. I thought that we would kind of go more in depth because it kind of felt like it was just one scene and then it kind of wrapped up. The little twist in this book, I think it was predictable. I also didn't mind it. I was reading other book reviewers on Goodreads, and I saw that some people thought that it was unnecessary. I didn't mind it. It was fine. I may pick up the other ones if it's ever available. I'm going to give this one a 3 out of 5 stars. So the fifth and final book that I read for the month of October was The Design of Everyday Things by Dawn Norman. I've always seen this book was recommended by people in the design community, and my instructors recommended this book as well. I thought it'd be a really good essential book, and especially for someone who's trying to learn a bunch of new things. This took me months to read. It literally felt like being in school again. Things about bad design is ignored. He says that bad design is everywhere, but fortunately it isn't difficult to design things that are understandable, usable, and enjoyable. There's really timeless principles in here. A really good, valuable book about good design. Definitely something that I will be picking up every now and then. I think I would also recommend, I would probably reread this again. I'm really glad I picked this one up. If you have any other book recommendations on good design, let me know. There's a few on my TBR. I think I'm gonna rate this one a 4 out of 5 stars.